In this episode of the IT Experts podcast, I talk with Mark Copeman and we talk about how to get the most out of the MSP Global event. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast, the only podcast to help MSPs scale to 1 million and if already there, get to 5 and go faster. At the end of the day, isn't it all about building a business that works for you rather than you for it? I hope you enjoy the show. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast. We've got a bit of a strange one for you today. We're going to be talking to Mark Copeman, who isn't strange, by the way, about how to get the most out of events and more importantly, the MSP Global event that is going on for, strange enough, MSPs in November. Good afternoon, Mark. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, good evening, Ian. I'm not strange, I promise you. I've been called many things, but definitely not strange.
Brilliant. Well, look, it's good to connect with you again. Good to have you back on the podcast. It's been too long, Mr. Copeman, to have you back. And the reason for today's show is we've been honoured to be keynoting both myself and Mark at the MSP Global event, which has been run in November at the Nuremberg Ring. We're going to give you some links and details on that in a little while. We're going to talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about, why you need to attend. But Mark and I just thought we'd jam on the podcast and talk about how to get the best out of events. You know, we're coming up to the legendary event season that we've got coming up October, November, December, not maybe not so much in December, but certainly October, November. And you see people on LinkedIn and a lot of people sit there, go, I'm too busy to go to events and everything like this. But events, Mark, are possibly one of the most powerful ways and marketing elements in any MSP's toolbox, but they don't realise why, do they, Mark? What's the ultimate reason that people shy away from these events? Are they scared to attend? Is it too expensive? Do they think they're too busy? Or what's your kind of like idea on what happens here?
So for me, it's all I'm actually getting quite obsessed about return on investment when it comes to these things.
You should do as well,
which is a good thing actually, yep. And it proves to myself and to my family and to my colleagues I'm not just swanning around the world having a nice time. So I think that's really, really important. Number one. So whenever you are considering attending in whatever guise, whether you're speaking, you're exhibiting, you're just attending, I think it's so important to go with a plan. And to know that you're going to hit 5, 6, 10 things or whatever. If you can hit a few of those, and your target list, if you like, of things you would like to achieve in that event, you can come home knowing that you've got some kind of return on investment. It might be a qualitative return. It may not even be quantitative. You might not see it on the balance sheet, and that's okay. But you can come home, possibly slightly hungover, possibly slightly tired, knowing you've achieved. And I think that for me is super, super important. So many of the events that I go to across the Atlantic, they're in the States. And so, there's a fair amount of cost involved in terms of travel, accommodation. Yeah. So I have to justify that to myself, to my business partner, to the business, or I'd just be constantly on a plane. And that's not a good thing. So I always go with a plan. We can maybe expand on that in a second, but but that return on investment for me is absolutely key to success.
And, and people have got to think about, it's not just about coming back with a new lead, a new client, it's, are you going to learn something that's going to help the business become more efficient and more powerful, I guess? Is it going to help you become more relevant? What do you need to get? I guess let's talk about success factors then. So, let's go into this. Return on investment is obviously a very simple monetary term, but what would if you were an MSP and you were going to an event, what would a success factor be to say, yes, I think that was a good event for me, rather than, as you say, the usual sort of hangover, get tired, reconnect with everyone and pick up some socks, which is a whole nother story, isn't it? But yeah, what ROI or what return could an MSP get from some of these events?
Okay, so I think it depends on, there's perhaps two angles here. There's the IT events, which we know and love, and we're going to come on to talk about the MSP Global events in a moment, I'm sure. But then there's also, for me, your focused industry events that perhaps the area that you're servicing. So, your niche, your vertical, whatever you want to call it. So if you are involved, like, for example, we have a couple of MSP clients involved in the creative industries. Yeah. Okay, that's all they do. They focus really hard on that, and it's brilliant to see. So there are all kinds of creative expos, conferences around the place. So would it make sense for them to exhibit, to speak at those events? Yes, of course it would. Absolutely. Yeah. Would it make a sense for them just to attend the event? Yes, it would. So I think that the return on investment for me there is, where it's possible, and I appreciate it isn't always, is to try and figure out who's attending. Are your clients attending? Are your prospects attending? And, maybe do a mail out, maybe do a thing on LinkedIn. And if you can get hold of the official list, then that's obviously a bonus. And if they are, make some time to be with them. Actually put some time in the diary, because we all say, oh, see you at the event. And you glance at them and, you never actually get to have a conversation. Classic example happened for me yesterday, returning recently from the ChannelCon event in Vegas. One of our vendor partners, a delightful lady, Katie, she came to say hello, didn't have time to have a proper conversation. And you know what? We had to rearrange our time together over Teams a couple of days ago after the event, which is crazy. So I think knowing who's going to be there, and here's another really top tip, Ian, and nobody does this and it drives me insane. If you know a client or a particular client is going to be at one of these events, consider taking a phone, a tripod, a camera, whatever it may be. Ask them, would you mind either doing a little interview with me, or even better, do me a favor, film a case study, a testimonial. Because the hardest part about filming testimonials typically is getting someone in the right place at the right time. If they are with you in a confined space for 2-3 days, make some time, find a little breakout room, a corridor somewhere, point a camera at them, get a half decent mic, and film them saying nice things about you for a couple of minutes.
And that's so easy. The testimonials, I know that we were talking a minute ago about the website, and one of your key things around on the website is making sure you have that social proof, and just have a conversation with them about, what is it that, your problem was? How do we overcome it? What are the things that you're enjoying now as being part of where we are? And when you're in that different environment and you're out of work and you're in this, I don't want to call it fantasy land, but I've been to some events and you can get really dragged into the smell, the aura, the 500 people in a room, the music, the whole kind of thing. And you think you're in this show, don't you? And if it lasts for a couple of days, you can then actually, have a bit of a come down afterwards if you're not careful, because you can sort of think, oh my God, we're back to reality again. And I think that's where you've hit the nail on the head with regards to having your plan of action. When you walk out of that room, what is going to make a great success, and if you've got that testimony, if you've reconnected with, we're not saying go to an event and meet up with your clients. What we're saying is go to the event purposefully to make connections and to learn, on the whole niche thing and what's going on in that vertical. Those people have got your clients in their lists, right? So go and talk to them about something that they're not used to talking about, like, email security or, availability of your wife or whatever it might be that's your key area, that's going to solve their problem. Because I tell you, no one in the IT space goes out and does this stuff. So if you go and do it, you're going to be top of the tree. You're going to be
stand out from the crowd. Yeah.
Stand out. This is one way to stand out. I know sometimes it can be daunting to stand up there and talk to people, but just having a conversation about what you do. Oh yeah, we work with holiday parks or logistics companies or hotels or whatever it might be. But I think the vertical events are really, really, really powerful. And then if you start peppering in, as you sort of say, some of the case studies. Oh yeah, we're working with this customer, and build the stories in about what you've done and how you've helped them. Oh, I'd like some of that, please. Thank you very much.
Exactly. You want to stand out from the crowd even more as well, just finishing off on this vertical stuff, then apply to speak, be that IT industry expert. One of the books that have most inspired me that I read, I guess it was 6-7 years ago now, Key Person of Influence by Daniel Priestley. And, without giving the story away, write a book, speak at events, become known. Okay. And if you can apply to speak, hound people, say, look, don't charge for it, because if you get 20, 30, 50, 200 people sitting in front of you as you've given a really interesting session around, the importance of cybersecurity or whatever it may be, guess what? You're going to get 10 people queuing up at the end of the session to start a conversation with you. So have your business cards in your pocket. Business cards still work, by the way. I'm quite old school. There's my other tip. go to a conference and make sure you've got business cards with you. Then people remember who you are.
Yeah, and do you know what? That's a really good point, actually, with the business cards, because if someone says, "Oh, it doesn't matter, I don't need to do that, I'll scan them on LinkedIn." Well, someone could scan you on LinkedIn, and then they go off, and they go, "Oh, great," and then you go, "Oh, where's your contact details? I haven't got your contact details now." Whereas if you exchange, the business cards,
but you write on the business card about, a couple of notes about that individual, bung it in your pocket. If you speak to 50 people in this event, you get home, you actually remember who that person was, and can, connect to them in an authentic way. So that's something I've done for years, and it really, really works.
And there's a little secret tip here as well. I know you'll know that Mark, as part of Wingman Marketing, we do, I'm very passionate about the marketing of the Growth Hub. And a little tip here is people always struggle to put content together. So if all of a sudden you rock up and you find someone who's got a podcast in your niche, or podcast in something that you're talking about, or you could write an article for them, or you could write a blog, or you could write an opinion piece, or anything like that, or go and do a little keynote or a little breakout session or a panel discussion, they struggle with it. Event organizers are always struggling to find quality content and also new, fresh content. So if you've had a great piece of work on, a particular element of what you've done in your MSP, just put 4 or 5 points about it, that you talk to me about it for 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden you've actually got yourself a bit of a keynote, and you've got yourself a podcast topic, and you've got yourself a slide deck and a takeaway PDF and, do you know what I mean? But people are always looking for speakers, people to come on the panel, people, who are around, and just think about, when you're at the niche events, who is it who has got your list that you could connect with, that you could then have that in, which is really cool. Talk to me about industry events. So we've got the Managed Service Summit coming up. We've obviously got this MSP Global event coming up, and we've obviously got the brilliant events that are always taking place at CompTIA. Slightly different because it's kind of in the managed service niche. So it's all about kind of what's going on in the world, what's going on with new technologies. And one thing that I see quite a lot of the time is people come to these events, and as you rightly say, they walk in the door without a plan. They have a little chat. They might have a bit of lunch, and they walk out and they go, "Well, it wasn't really that good." Well, determine what good is. What does that plan look like? What do you need to know? And also, when you've got that plan, how do you make sure that you don't come away completely overwhelmed with, "Oh, I've got to do that session 1. Oh, I've got to do that session 2. Oh, now I've got to do that because that's session 3. Oh, and session 4 talked about that, and I know I really, really need to do that." You can actually come away from these events, if you're not careful, with your head just about to explode and no idea. And then you walk out the door, and then the office ring up and basically delete everything that you said. How do people prevent themselves getting into this? I'm going to call it a tumble dry, because it just feels like a tumble dry. Do you know where I'm coming from with that one, Mark?
Yeah, but I quite like that in a funny kind of way. It's kind of inspiring being inside a tumble dry. I've never heard anyone call it that before, but I quite like that. Sometimes I started my desk this morning, I felt maybe the tumble dryer analogy is quite a good one. So you have to switch the tumble dryer off just for a moment and let everything settle at the bottom. And maybe I can't keep going with this analogy, and it's terrible.
It's amazing. Keep it going. I think I want you to mention this in your keynote.
Pick out a couple of the jumpers, and you fold them up, and you go, okay, so this is the way I'm going to tackle things. I can't extend that analogy anymore, but it's nice. It's great to be inspired, isn't it? And when you do listen to multiple people speaking, and here's the other thing, that it's the chant. Yes, I'm all for the plan. Absolutely. Go for that return on investment in whatever form you want to make it. But it's the chance discussions. It's being brave enough to sit next to someone you don't know at dinner, at lunch, to stand next to them. I'm going to give you one very, very quick example. Back in fact, it was also at the ChannelCon event. I was invited to a sub event in the evening, which was a lot of fun. And there was a gentleman standing all on his own, looking quite awkward. There was probably about 50 people in the room, something like that. And I have enough grey hair now and experience just to go, do you know what? That's not right. So I wandered over to him.
Brilliant. Well done.
And I said, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Mark," sort of thing. And very long story short, this lovely man who had recently sold his MSP, he was building up a new business focused on creating a security operations center staffed entirely by autistic people.
Wow.
And
I remember the post on this one. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I did. It went all over the place, the LinkedIn post. But it was that chance conversation. And you know what? he came back to me time after time at this conference, quite a shy introvert man, a really lovely guy. And he came up to me a couple of times to try and continue the conversation. And this is when he actually realized there was someone else in the room he'd heard about doing something similar. I say room, 2,500 people.
Yeah.
Hence the reason I put out a post and we tried to connect him. We had all sorts of responses to what he was looking to do. So, be brave, start those conversations with people, because people are very, very happy to be approached as, they're sitting there staring at their phones. You're there to have a conversation, not to be looking at Facebook.
And I think that's a great thing. Get outside your comfort zone.
Yes.
I'm an absolute massive believer, and I'm not going to get totally woo-woo on this, but I'm absolutely a massive believer of the power of attraction, the energy that moves around this world. If you put out positive energy, you will get good stuff back. If you put out negative energy, guess what's going to come back and bite you in the bum, right? That stuff happens. Don't ask me how, but it happens, right? So I absolutely guarantee every single person on this podcast that if you go to an event saying, I'd love to meet some great connections, I really want to, this is going to be a really good event, I'm feeling really positive about it, and you just go outside your comfort zone and you push yourself a little bit, bloody amazing things are going to happen. We met some of our biggest and best clients at a CompTIA event, and I'll let you into a little secret. I was good 3/4, if not a full bottle through on this rosé, and still managed to hold it together. Stuart said I'd done incredibly well, but it did fall to pieces when we got outside and it got a little bit, got the fresh air in and we got on the train. He says, well done on that. But anyway, it was a good event. People get to know you because they get to know the real you, not the person who's like doing all the calls and the tech and all of that sort of stuff. And they get to people by people, right? So...
yeah, the chance conversations are wonderful. They really are. So be open, as you just said, be open to them.
And the MSP global event.
Talk about the global event, shouldn't we?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just about to move on to now. So, they're looking for 2,500 people, can you believe, to attend this? And it's going to be at the Nuremberg Ring, which is amazing because if you're a petrol head, then that's fine. If you drive an electric car, you might want to pop along, but it might not be that noisy. It's held at the Nuremberg Ring on the 14th to the 16th of November. It's free to attend for any MSP. It is going to be amazing. There's going to be hundreds of speakers there, tons and tons of vendors learning about what's going on. These guys are not mucking around. Mark and I have been around the event place for long enough to realise that this event it's an inaugural event, but it's going to start with a bang. They've got some amazing things. We'll put the link in the show notes so you can check out what's going to be going on there with regards to the keynotes and the breakout sessions, and you get a trip around the track. I think there's some parties going on as well, which is really good to make it such an amazing special event. And you're obviously there, Mark. What are you going to be talking about? What are you going to be sharing with the audience?
My passion, really, and that's for helping MSPs to improve their online presence. And as I stare at the agenda notes here, what I've called my session is around helping to turn your website into another member of your sales team. So I'm going to be, it's very practical. Whenever I get up on stage or online, I really do try to fill up or help people fill up notepads full of notes and take some stuff back with them to take action on. And I will almost certainly open by saying there's too many people that go to conferences, sit and nod and listen, and then do nothing with it when they get home. Do not be that person. That's likely to be one of my opening statements. And so, I'm looking forward to sharing some examples around just best practice, really, and some specific examples of the good, the bad, and the ugly around online presence. Because without it, you can't be found, and people aren't going to take you seriously. So,
it's brilliant the way they've done it, isn't it? Because you've got like a little lightning talk at the beginning. So there's a 15-minute kind of like keynote. This is why you need to come. And then in the afternoon on both the days, they're then doing a 45-minute deep dive session, which is going to be a bit like a masterclass, isn't it? So you get to go into it. It's a lot smaller. I think you get to ask some really great questions. So I really like the way that they've done that, so that you can sit there with everybody in the room. And then if it's a subject you want to learn, I've got a funny feeling you're going to cause them a bit of an issue in the afternoon. I know how big the room for the breakout is. It's going to be interesting. Might be a bit of standing room only there.
Let's hope so. I will do a bunch of live website reviews without the aid of a safety harness in the afternoon as well. So if you happen to be there, put your name in the hat and we'll draw it out. So that always gets some interest going as well. And if you're brave, what about your session, Ian? Tell me about.
Yeah, so we're doing a session on how to scale your MSP from 250k up to 5 million. And everyone sort of like thinks, oh yeah, but it's just about growing the business, isn't it? But it isn't, because we know at the Growth Hub there's kind of 3 different phases up to about 750, where you've got the single business owners, small groups. Then you've got 750 to 1.5 million when you just got some management team coming in, you've got people problems, and then 1.5 and above, and then you've got some real potential issues around or challenges around proper leadership team. So we're going to be helping you to connect your strategy, your people, the engagement, the action, the KPIs, and really the 5 key areas into how to go through that MSP journey from 250, or even if you're at 5 or 1 million or 2 million, how do you then get to that next phase? Easier, slicker, with less stress, and I can't talk, but maybe more hair than me. And this is what we do on a daily basis. So we're absolutely busting to get involved in this and help people out, just like yourself, Mark, and help them walk away from that event going, wow, I'm just going to do these 1 or 2 things, and I know that it's going to change your life, right? I'm not bluzzing it all up, but if you go to one of these events and you listen to Mark and he changes your website, and all of a sudden your phone rings, that's life-changing stuff, because it's new clients. It's going to help you provide, a bigger business to help more people. And this is kind of how it all works. So, yeah, absolutely buzzing for it. I'll also be taking the Warwick over with us as well. So Stuart's going to come as well, but I'm not sure if he's coming just to look after me. I don't know. We'll see how that pans out.
Well, sometimes I know you need a little bit of looking after. So I was called the other day by a mutual friend of ours who shall remain nameless. I was his conference dad the first time he went to Vegas.
Dad.
So conference dad. So maybe Stuart's your conference dad. Ian.
He could be. Yeah, we'll see if we're on the so ROI and success for me is that we're on the same plane, still talking on the way back. We'll still be talking. We'll be talking about something anyway. But no, that would be absolutely brilliant. But look, final thoughts for this podcast then, Mark. What is it that they need to be taken away from?
Well, I think if I just one little sort of anecdote, I suppose, about the session I'm going to give. People are skeptical. If I change that word, if I do that, if I redesign it, will I really get any leads and stuff? And I sort of cast my mind back. It was about 9 months ago where I had I do many one-to-ones with MSPs. I offer up some free advice or do website reviews and stuff for people. And this one particular gentleman, lovely man from Canada, he said to me, Mark, we redesigned our site about a year ago. He said, since then, we haven't had a single lead through in a year. And I said, look, make this one change to your above the fold on your homepage. Just try it. You've got nothing to lose. I don't know if you're going to end up working with us or not. And no word of a lie. And he called me up the following week and said, Mark, we've had a lead through. I can't believe it. Now, there's an element of luck there and timing. It could have been another 6 months. But my point, and the point of that story is, if you do take action, Newton's third law, big fan of it, you're going to get a reaction.
Yeah.
If you sit and do nothing happens. So if you at the minute, you're not getting what you want through on your site, then make some changes, and make them, and those tiny changes can actually make an enormous difference over time. So marketing's all about consistency and persistency. And that's what I'll be talking about in that session. But I'm looking forward to it very much.
2 things I just want to add on to that, which I think, how long have you got in seconds when someone opens up your website to make them realize this is for me?
We'll never know the actual answer, but we're all consumers. And I'd say 5, 6, 7 seconds. And, the phrase I like to throw in, the back button is only pixels away, and so you've got to hit people hard between the eyes. And I will talk about that in that session about how exactly you can do that.
And I can vouch for Mark on that. And sometimes we're a bit too close to our own websites and our own copy, because we'd look at it and we'd go, oh, that's fine, or this looks good, or that looks fine. But unfortunately, a little bit of a shocker for you in the last couple of minutes. It's not about you. It's about your customers. It's what they want, their language and their way. So that's really cool. So look, if you want to attend this event, then as I say, the link is in the show notes here. If you are coming to this event and you've listened to this podcast, come and see myself and Mark, and we'll tell us that you've listened to the podcast. We might even have a little prize or a little bit of goodies or something like that for you. We don't know. Just putting that in at the end there, just to put a bit of interest in. But yeah, it'd be great to see you. It'd be great to connect. Go with a plan. Get your plan in place. Work out what your ROI is. Safe travels out there, and I look forward to seeing you out there, Mark, at the end of or middle of November.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
Nice one. All right, Mark, you take care. Look after yourself.
Thanks, Ian.
Cheers, mate. So I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, I'd love it if you could leave a rating and review on your favourite podcast platform. If you want to learn more about how to take your MSP to 1 million, or if you're already there, go faster, then come and join Stuart Warwick and myself in the Scale with Confidence Facebook group. The link is in the show notes. You go and enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.